You're listening to Fighting Back, news talk, current events, and political commentary. Now here's the host of Fighting Back, Uncle Ronnie.
Well, good evening again. We've expanded our reach, as you can see, and when you see Ray's hair over there, and we see Josh's hair, this is the long.
How does my hair look? Good.
There's the long and short of it.
Mine's almost paid for. So
Bob Lettieri's got a good head of hair. I don't know how he does it. Is that a wig, Bob?
Yes.
It is. Okay. At any rate, we have Bob Lettieri on the show tonight, and Bob has been, and we're really happy to have him. He's been the Arizona State Treasurer of the Republican Party for 4 years. And if you don't think that was a task, because there are more rules and regulations to this job than you can shake a stick at. Bob wants to talk about something that is really, really important. We have some breaking news here, I think, Bob. You've told us just before we went on the air. And Josh, just hang on to your hat because you don't have a hat. But at any rate, just hang on because we're going to hear a few things here that are going to shake most of our audience up. Go ahead, Bob.
Okay, well, let me start out by saying I've been working with the Madison Coalition Group. It's a nonpartisan advocacy group in Washington, D.C., and they've been working nationwide to get acceptance of a new amendment called Keep 9. Now, unlike other proposed anti-court packing, which only would prohibit Congress from expanding the size of the court, the more recent introduced and stronger Keep 9 amendment would prohibit Congress from either increasing or decreasing the size of the court. Now, here's how it's being framed by a Supreme Court Justice, Byers. He warned against Supreme Court packing. His statement included court packing would be a dangerous threat to the checks and balances and safeguards against the abuse of federal power. Court packing should be permanently prohibited, that no party is ever again tempted to undermine the independence of the Supreme Court. Nationally, we have 83 congressmen that are sponsoring and co-sponsoring the bill. We have 17 senators that are co-sponsoring and sponsoring the bill. Here in Arizona, we have our own Keep 9 bill, and it's represented by 12 senators and signed by 29 representatives. Now, here's what's really making this an urgent matter. Just today, it was announced that congressional Democrats plan to unveil legislation expanding the Supreme Court on Thursday, that's tomorrow, according to 3 congressional sources familiar with the closely held measure. And these congressional Democrats are Committee Chair of the Judiciary House, which is Jerry Nadler, Subcommittee Chair Hank Johnson, and freshman Representative Mondaire Jones. In the Senate, the bill is being championed by Ed Murkey of Massachusetts. So we need to get behind this initiative to keep the Supreme Court at 9. I have volumes of testimonies from congressional people that are talking about what will happen to the laws of this nation if the Supreme Court is packed. Right now, it's 9. 6 Republicans, 3 Democrats. They're proposing to add 4. That will change the balance of power. And most of us have heard of H.R. 1. Oh. It's absolutely radical. And the only thing that stands between us and that becoming law is the Supreme Court. So let's get on the wagon and fight this.
You know, this is shocking that any political party would try to pack the courts, try to change the constitutional responsibilities of, and Josh, as you know, the Constitution clearly states that the individual states are the ones that make up the rules for registering and voting.
Correct.
And we've got a real problem here that one political party believes that they have so much authority that they want to lock up the system and control it forever.
Well, look, there's a couple of things. First and foremost, if you think about it, this is why I was doing show after show after show, trying to explain to people how dangerous a potential Biden regime could be. And when the Supreme Court was not taking these cases, I was saying to myself, do you understand that your jobs are going to be eliminated? Your power, your lifetime appointment, all of that would be eliminated if they pack the court. You will then be diluted. You possibly might not even have a lifetime appointment. And you will be responsible for allowing America to be completely taken over by radical Marxist leftists. And I explained it. I tried to explain it to as many people as possible. The bottom line is, if they take away our ability to have a two-party system, if they take away our ability to be able to have a free and fair election by, God forbid, changing the filibuster down to 51 votes and changing it to where they can pass anything they want. I hate to say it, but it's the truth. If we cannot use the ballot box, we perhaps may have to use something else. And we certainly don't want to get into the details of that, but we're going to be and remain a free nation. We are not going to allow these radical leftists to take over this country permanently. We already know what happened in 2020. We are fighting tooth and nail every single day, putting it all on the line to make sure that it will never, ever happen again.
Now, Bob, according to the Constitution, who chooses who has the hearings with regard and who approves the Supreme Court?
Well, first of all, the Constitution doesn't speak to the size of the Supreme Court.
Right.
It just gives them the judicial authority to interpret laws, right? And they're appointed basically by the President, Congress, and
Right.
Senate.
And the
So
hearings are held by which branch?
Excuse me?
The branch of
The Senate is the ones that
Senate
does
does
Yes,
the
that's
confirmation
right.
here.
the
Yes.
Senate. So it basically comes down to, who does the Senate represent? Does the Senate represent the people, or does the Senate represent the state? Because nobody's protecting states' rights. None of these states as a whole want any of these things to happen, but the states have no voice anymore. 17th Amendment.
Okay.
That's what it is. They should not be elected. They
Can't
should
say
be selected.
enough about that 17th Amendment and what it has done
Because
to withdraw
all
the
of
power
this-
of all of the 50 states.
Right, the filibuster.
taken it away.
The filibuster would really mean nothing because it would never pass the Senate if the Senate was selected by the states. Right? That is the safeguard. That's the safeguard that when that happened, that was a big part of where we are right now. And so I support you 100%. 100%. We need to make sure. But there's a lot of misnomers about the Supreme Court. And we always encourage everybody, go get the Constitution. Look at it. Look what it says. They will tell you so many things. This is the way it is. No, you have to look at the Constitution, read it, understand it, because they're giving you a lot of fallacies. I'll bring out one. The Supreme Court is not a lifetime appointment. And people are saying, wow, no. No, it says that you will stay in that position for good behavior. You behave badly, you can be removed.
Correct.
When Ruth Bader Ginsburg came out and said, I don't like that candidate Donald Trump, that was bad behavior.
And she
for
should have
any-
been removed.
She should have been removed immediately because that was not good behavior. But nobody wants to stand up.
And that is one of the issues here that these courts need to, the bias that can be explained by Ruth Bader Ginsburg saying, I don't like Donald Trump. Well, then you're an obligation
She should have been
to
removed.
recuse herself.
No matter how you
and
feel
say,
about
I will
her
not,
personally.
I will not make any decisions based on that because I don't like the man, and no matter what he does, good or bad, I'll be critical of it.
And you know what? If you're not familiar with this, many Supreme Court judges have been removed. Many, I'll say. I think I know of at least two that have been removed for bad behavior. So this is not something new. This is not unprecedented. You know the history of this as well, Josh. So that's my 2 cents.
Well, look, I think that they're really, we say that they're radical, we say that they're left-leaning, but they're taking it to another level. They're taking it to a level of totalitarianism.
Right.
And what I actually talked about, I did a video on it, And I talked about how the election and the Democrats of 2020 and how they were running the election was very similar to the 1917 Bolsheviks and the Russians and the Red Terror organizations that they had in the past. And if you look at all of the same types of things that happened in 1917 and you compare them to 2020, you can clearly see that America was Bolshevik, okay? That's what happened. I mean, they basically discredited people. They discredited the vote. They tried to change the rules of the game halfway through, the plays and everything else. They were doing all of these things. And then, of course, the violence. The violence was a big part of it. The summer of love, as Durkin called it in Washington State. So all of that was part of this. And then, of course, getting the unions. One of the big things that we have to watch out for in 2022 is we, not them, we have to be the ones that are working as election officials. We need to get those jobs secured now or within 6 months of the election. Because what happened was the unions spent millions upon millions of dollars finding, young people that they knew would be left-leaning to work these polls. And these were the folks in the swing states. The unions paid for all of these people to be part of, the canvassers and election watchers and all of these different things. And of course, maybe you don't know, I covered it, Detroit Leaks, which was audio recordings of them being trained a nefarious way, shall we say, to put it lightly. And so what they did is the unions got involved and they put these people in place. Of course, we had the Time magazine article that basically admitted it. I mean, without admitting it, they basically admitted what they did. And so we can never, ever have this happen again. The way you take back this country is at the state and local level. So we need people that support President Trump, MAGA supporters, America First supporters, to run for state office, to run for city council, to run for state senate, to volunteer to be election workers. And we need to do that now. We have to do that now because the left they smell blood in the water, okay? And they feel like if they can get away with anything, then they're going to be even, more dangerous to try even more things. And the only way to change that is to get people elected that believe in America First values.
Exactly. And Bob, I want to stress something here that I think you talked a little bit about. One, the Constitution does not say how many justices there are.
No.
That's correct. And two, they're not appointed for lifetime. They're appointed as long as they've got good behavior. But there's a third issue there that is very, very seldom discussed, and it's an important issue. We talk about activist judges, but we never think of activist judges on the Supreme Court, but always on the lower courts. Mm-hmm. And I'll give you an idea. If I were to ask 90% of American public, I made that number up, by the way, but if I were to ask the American public if abortion is the law of the land, most people would say, yes, it's the law of the land. It is not the law of the land. It was an opinion by the Supreme Court. They do not make the laws of the land. And the issue of abortion, once again, is 10th Amendment issue, referring back to the states. The states determine that issue. And so we have a lot of things here that, and I'm sorry to say, not only is the American public uneducated about many of these things, but the elected officials don't know the rules.
Well, it's the same thing with a lot of things over there, Bob.
Yes.
It's called Keep Nine. Which one is it?
Keep Nine.
Keep Nine. There's a purpose, and we've had 9 Supreme Court justices over our history in the United States. It's gone up, it's gone down, but I think for the last, you could probably give me the exact number, 150 or so years. 130 years, we've had 9.
Yes.
And it's worked out pretty well.
Yes. A question I was hoping you guys were going to ask me is, what do we the people think about this?
What do we the people think about this?
Okay, well...
I'm glad you asked.
Yes, thank you for asking that question. Let me tell you that there were two nonpartisan groups. One of them is the Coalition to Preserve an Independent Supreme Court. The other is the Madison Coalition. And both their polls reveal that 3-1 of the American people support this. Now, we don't have 3 Republicans to 1 Democrat, which means that this is really a nonpartisan issue.
Right.
It
That-
works to save the Supreme Court for everyone, not for one political party.
Now, just last week, everybody was watching it, but there was a committee or some sort of organization that was put together by President Biden that says we're going to be looking into it, right? What did he say? I'm going to start
Some type of commission that he was going to hire. He was going to appoint them, of course,
Right.
and it was supposed to be like 30 or 35 people or something that was supposed to look into different suggestions on how to change it.
Well,
Okay,
it sounds
so
to me that with today's announcement,
Right.
that they're going to announce tomorrow
Right.
that they're pushing this forth, that the decision's already been made by the Biden
in under a
administration.
week, before this commission can even be appointed, they've already made the decision, which tells me that this was all back in the election time. And do you remember when they came to candidate Biden and they said, if you're elected, will you pack the Supreme Court? Josh, what did he say on that?
He wouldn't give an answer.
Yeah, he
He
said,
wouldn't give an answer. He wouldn't give an answer on fracking. Look, I don't understand, and I don't want to, say anything bad about the Trump campaign or the Trump administration, but you had to have known that they were going to take it to this level. I was screaming at the top of my lungs on every single show. I had banners, Lawyers for Trump. I was begging people to sign up at Lawyers for Trump because I knew, and I will admit I got one thing wrong. I said that they were going to litigate their way into the White House. I was wrong on that. They didn't have to. We had to try to litigate our way back into the White House.
Right.
And so I was wrong on that, but I was right on the entire process. I mean, it doesn't take, a Jacques Cousteau to figure out that this guy isn't talking to anyone. He's not doing interviews. He's hiding. He's calling a lid 5, 7, 8, 9 days in a row. Nothing's going on. No one's showing up. You had to have known that something was going on behind the scenes. And I kind of fault them to the point where, why didn't you have things more prepared?
But
Why weren't there
Josh,
ICE agents?
to your point. Now, to your point,
Okay.
this had to be a movement going on outside maybe of Trump's administration, because the 83 congressmen that have sponsored or co-sponsored goes back to the early part of 2020. So this initiative was underway a year and a half ago.
Yeah, they knew about it. And the announcement that happened today, maybe President Biden hasn't heard about it yet. That's possible.
I don't. It's possible. I can't. I understand you're calling him that. I can't call him that. But look, they took the magical flu, the kung flu, whatever you want to call it, and they used that, right? Rahm Emanuel, never let a good crisis go to waste.
Exactly.
They used that to implement everything that they were able to accomplish. And I don't understand why Republicans that were part of his administration that supposedly were supporting him, why they didn't see that, why they didn't take the threat seriously. If you're running for office and your opponent literally doesn't do anything, and you're out there doing rallies and selling out arenas at 35, 40,000, aren't you going to have a meeting and go, they're not doing anything. We're working our ass off over here. What's going on? Is there something else that we should be aware of?
Right.
Didn't anybody have the sense to put that forward? I mean, it can't just be me, right? I mean, it doesn't make any sense. And again, I love President Trump. I thought he did a fantastic job. I wish he was back in office. But, I think that there was definitely some blind spots if we're going to be, accurate here.
I guess it depends on who you surround yourself with.
That's a good point.
Josh, you brought up the Time magazine article.
Yes.
Right? You brought that up. Now, that documented early in 2020, where Trump was calling out the dangers of fraud in this election. Right? It was very clearly documented in that Time magazine article, the dates that he said it, where he said it, and how he said it was going to happen. So apparently, there's been an awareness of it.
Yeah, I guess then the $64,000 question is, why wasn't anything done to stop it?
Well, he was well aware that he was being watched as well early in the campaign. He was well aware that they were spying on him and they were doing that, but nobody heard it. Everybody said, "Oh, he's just making that up," but he knew. He knew, and now it comes out he was being spied on the whole time.
Honestly, he should have hired 10, 15,000 attorneys. He should have recruited so many people, especially in the swing states, to make sure that they were the workers at the election sites instead of the left. And then, of course, you got to be able to keep an eye on things. I think they should have had police at some of these precincts. I think you could have had cameras in the parking lots. I mean, you could have had cameras inside, the voting areas. I mean, we've got to take this seriously. This is our right to be able to have a free and fair election. And if we're not willing to fight for that, then what are we going to have? What's going to be left? I mean, they've got H.R. 1, they've got the Unequality Act, they've got, so many other things that they're trying to do, Erase the Police Act. You've got the packing of the courts, the filibuster. What they're basically doing is they're doing a Cloward and Piven strategy.
Yes.
Cloward and Piven were two sociology professors from New York University, and I believe in the 1960s, and they came up with a strategy that if they can get as many people into the country, a lot of illegals, of course, that's why the border is a sieve, that's why they're allowing this to happen, to bring these people in and overload the system. By overloading the system, you crash the system and you replace capitalism with socialism or communism. That's what the Cloward and Piven strategy was. So what we are witnessing now is a shock and awe campaign of a Cloward and Piven strategy, but just the opposite. It's with left-leaning legislation. H.R. 1, packing the courts, changing the filibuster.
And
all of these things at once,
let's
and
not
they're
forget
hoping
our
and praying
border
that
issues.
one of these things can just slide through. And if one slides through and we block all the rest of them, it's still going to be damaging this country.
Right.
And that's why we have to
And let's
fight
not
back.
forget the border issues, because they are critical. Somebody said the other day, and this was amazing, what can we do about it? Just withdraw the executive order of Biden and go back to the way Trump had it. It was working. It was that easy. It's simple. We just have to have the willpower to do it.
So, Josh, I'm curious. You brought up these executive orders. We know the average person, the educated person who believes in the Constitution, loves the Constitution, when President Biden says, I was elected to protect the American people, he's missing the whole point. He's protected to defend the Constitution of the United States.
Yes.
So when he's writing these executive orders, what is we, the people, or our elected officials, what can we do to say, no, you can't do these executive orders?
We're already doing it. God bless Ron DeSantis in Florida.
Oh, yes.
Abbott in Texas. Wyoming's governor, Missouri's governor,
And
Arkansas's governor.
Right here in Arizona as well.
Yeah.
With Doug Ducey signing the
So what we're
Second
doing
Amendment.
is we're basically taking back our power. The states are asserting themselves once again, and that's what you have to do when you have a situation like this. And so they're passing legislation at the state level, thank God,
And
that is nullifying federal laws.
I want to give a shout out to many of our legislators. Our Republican
right.
legislators are finally got a backbone and are standing up and saying enough. We're not going to be pushed
we are a
any
sanctuary
further.
state here in Arizona now.
We are.
And that was signed.
Yeah, I don't know if you were aware of it, but our Attorney General has sued the federal government. A lawsuit entered in by our state's Attorney General because the government is not securing the border. He's suing them over that matter.
Good, and that's what they should do.
Yeah.
And I want to make another point. For folks that don't think that state races are important, they are extremely important,
Yes.
because if the federal government goes the way it's going right now, you need to have something as a stopgap. And thank God we have these Republican legislatures around the country that can change election laws and to bring election integrity back and things of that nature. And remember, the governors are very important too. Why? Because they're the ones that pick the judges for the state Supreme Courts. And you see what happens in Wisconsin, and you see what happens in Michigan and elsewhere. If you don't have the state Supreme Courts, like in Pennsylvania with Wolf, well, what happened? They voted to allow them to continue to count votes and to change
And that
the
was-
rules of the election.
Count votes
That
until
was
you win.
horrible.
Count
Well,
votes until
Bob,
you win.
we're just about out of time. Bob, tell us one more time what I can do, and these gentlemen and all of you out there can do to stop this nonsense?
Well, the more support we get from the grassroots up, the more the message will get to the elected officials. So what we can do is talk about it, write, call, and make sure it gets on people's agenda. I know that when I spoke to our representatives here in the state of Arizona, they advocated, they have their own bill. We need to do this nationwide. Every state needs to do that.
Absolutely.
One of the keys that I'm working with now is our Attorney General, who's part of an organization of statewide, countrywide Attorney Generals, and he's working on a letter that'll introduce this topic to them. So that's what we're doing, and that's what everyone can do.
We have to be proactive, not reactive.
Yes.
Give us the name and how to get in touch with you. Yes.
Yeah, Bob Lettieri. You can call me at 602-316-5962. My email address is real easy. My name, Bob Lettieri @outlook.com.
And what about the organization? How do they get in touch with the organization?
The organization is the Madison Coalition. The director of the Madison Coalition is Roman Buehler. His phone number is 202-255-5000, and he would welcome a call from you.
Fantastic.
And that's in
And
Washington,
Josh,
D.C.
for you, one more
I
time.
would never give out my phone number, that's for sure.
One more time, Josh, tell us about how to reach you.
JoshBernsteinUncensored.com. If it's banned on social media, you'll find it there. I'm not a conservative news echo chamber. I do my own research. Everything is well sourced. I have an impeccable record of telling the truth and being accurate, and anything and everything that I put down is viciously attacked by the opposite side.
We're going out here. The music's playing. Mr. O'Connor's out of town. Mr. DeSante has did a really good job tonight, I might say. And we will see you Monday on Fighting Back, and we're going to talk some more about some of these things. And we're going to have Randy Pullen. There's some really interesting facts that he has. So you tune in Monday night at 6:30.
Thanks so much, Bob. Thank you, Josh.
So Josh will tell you how you can give out